Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching us from. This is More Global Network, Facebook group community, where we have change makers, professionals from different professionals from different spheres of life who comes together to share their experience, their knowledge, and to also at the same time network because partnership and collaboration is the new currency which I will be able to use to leverage and to also make our world better. So on this initiative, it is called the More Global Network Live webinar. This will be our fourth edition where we've been able to host leaders across different countries who comes live to share their experience. So today we'll be having a friend of mine from Kenya, the person of Ambassador Stephen Ogweno, who is one of the vast and knowledgeable leaders. We've been working together on a project called the NCDC project, non-communicable disease project, and it's been a wonderful journey. Just like I said earlier, that collaboration is the new way to go. My own organization, More Global Foundation, and with his own Stowelink Inc., we're able to come together, work together with different organizations, and the project has been wonderful. So one of the essence of this live webinar is to also to inspire young leaders who are aspiring to do things and the action of development in their respective community. So on this time, I'll be reading Mr. Stephen Ogweno profile. Stephen Ogweno is a population health expert and the founder of CEO of Stowelink Inc., a youth-led organization whose primary ethos is the making information of non-communicable disease available to all at all times in a relevant format. As a global advocate for non-communicable disease, he has been recognized time and again as a leading voice in innovation and in the development of successful programs and projects that are centered on NCDC literacy. Through his work with Stowelink, he has received both local and global recognition, with one of the highlights being presenting at the Windsor Castle in the United Kingdom in 2018. Beside his vast experience in health, he's also a serial entrepreneur who has founded and co-founded other ventures, including the Kreative Hub and Info4food. As a seasoned speaker, his experience in business, leadership, innovation has become the enterprise of his training for young people, and he prides himself in being able to mentor young people to develop successful startups. Ogweno Stephen is also the author of the Drug-Free Youth, also the Mental Health Matters and Anthology, and Practical Skills for Entrepreneurial Success. His profile is just too much, but on this note, we'll be able to read just the brief. Mr. Stephen, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much, Musa.
So you're welcome. You're welcome. We are glad to have you on board. So it's nice to have you on board. It's next. You can take the chat.
All right, so I guess I'll take it away from here. Thank you very much, Musa, for that detailed introduction. Indeed, we are doing more globally. I really loved, the theme of more global when I just heard of it when we were starting off to partner in this venture. And just as you already said, that partnerships is really the way to go. And I mean, we are working here in Kenya, and we're partnering with you from Nigeria, and we have 8 other countries working together on a singular project. That really goes ahead to show the strength in which partnerships could bring to entrepreneurship and to networking. So again, thank you very much for the introduction, and perhaps I'll move into sort of my presentation today, which is going to be very engaging, but also very simple. So today we're going to talk about fundamentals to entrepreneurship. What makes entrepreneurs entrepreneurs? What creates entrepreneurs? what is it that before someone goes out and starts a business, a company, a venture, an organization, a product, what makes them become entrepreneurs? Because there is, as you will see in the presentation, there is a few steps to get to entrepreneurship. And today we are going to focus on the very fundamental steps, to get us there. And this is part of my new book that is set to be released later in the year or earlier next year, called Practical Skills to Entrepreneurial Success, which documents 54 lessons from how to start off from an idea of being an entrepreneur to becoming a successful entrepreneur, based on my life's experiences and also based on the knowledge that I've been able to gather during my lifetime. So with that brief introduction about what practical skills is and who I am, I would like to take us to the next, to this presentation, so that we are able to move into the next stage. All right. So, what is my story? Who am I? So, briefly, and probably if you're listening, I'll probably just do this very briefly. So, again, growing up, I grew up from a very sort of affluent, or would I call it a stable family. So growing up, this is from age 0 to around 5, 6 years. Grew up in a very stable family, good house, good education. But then, problems happened, and my family was downgraded all the way from its affluence back to the streets, to an extent that for 2, 3 years of my life, I actually lived and ate and learned from the streets. We did not have places to stay. Relatives didn't want us to get in there, and just a lot of problems that surrounded our family at that time. So, and this is just when I'm getting into my mid-primary high school, and we've just been degraded from our affluent status to our to this new status of living literally and eating literally from the streets. And so, at this point, we also moved into the city, and life was difficult. Life was extremely difficult at this point. But then, all through this point, I always had exceptional ambition. I always knew what I wanted to do, and I always knew that for me, I knew I wanted to be in the health field. I wanted to be a doctor. Specifically, I wanted to study cancer. So I knew that from a very young age, and was very aggressive in pursuing that career path. So as my life progressed, when I was coming just out of high school, then I lost 4 of my close friends and family to non-communicable diseases, namely stroke, and then cancer and diabetes. And this is just as I'm joining the university, and this really, sparked up my interest to a very serious level of not having gone through the pain of losing my close friend, my girlfriend, my aunt, and my other family member to this disease. I swore to myself that I would do everything that I could to prevent any other person, from getting into this scenario of loss of life and having to deal with a disease burden because of lack of information. So that is what led me to establish my first company, which was Stowelink, which I established at the age of 19. And what we intended to do with Stowelink was to ensure that nobody dies or suffers or gets non-communicable diseases because of lack of information and early diagnostic services. So, as at 19, I had no experience. I had nothing really. I had no energy. I was just getting into a campus. I was a first year. My family is not doing well. We're still poor, and so, but still, I decided, let me just start this company. And so, one of the biggest, perhaps, mistakes, or one of the biggest challenges I faced when starting this, my first company, is Stowelink, was the fact that I wasn't well prepared. I didn't have people to coach me or so I thought. I didn't have areas to get the information, and so I just started off from ambition and nothing else, and sort of went through the journey of entrepreneurship. And what happened is that we had big failures. We failed a lot of times with Stowelink. At some point, we felt like we should just stop and give up, but I sort of picked it up and picked it up and picked it up again until today. 4 5 years later, we are now working in 8 countries in Africa and doing multinational projects. But the journey that I had to go through as a young, inexperienced, naive, purely ambitious entrepreneur, that is the story that really forms the backbone of this presentation. And the lessons that I got from those experiences and encounters are really what got me to get to where I am today. I refer back to Stephen Jobs' quote that in order to really make it as an entrepreneur, you really need to do what you love. So that is what I focused on. I focused on, despite the challenges, despite the failures, and I did have many failures when starting up. Despite all of that, I did it, and I did it again because of the passion I had for it, and because I loved it. I love what I do. I love going to communities and talking about non-communicable diseases. I love educating young people on this. I love doing free medical camps and testing people in communities and getting them to be aware of cancer, of diabetes, of stroke, of malnutrition, of obesity, and how this affects their health. I love that because I see the impact it creates in the community and the satisfaction I get from that. And more than anything else, all of the 5 years as I was going through the learning phase, that love for what I do is what kept me moving. So besides that, now that I did have a successful company, Stowelink, I mean, we are still growing, but presently where we are, we have a bit of success to us. Because of my curiosity and my drive, I've started other companies in different fields, and I've actually started around 5 to 6 companies. Three of them failed, and this is a story most people don't tell. But myself, I pride myself from the failures because they taught me a lot of things that I went back and implemented at Stowelink. And, 2 of them are ongoing, so that besides Stowelink, which is my first and major company, I ran another on focusing on agriculture, nutrition, and food drying called Info4food, and Kreative Hub, where we train young leaders across the country, on entrepreneurship, networking, and startup businesses. So I started 5, I failed at 3, 2 are still ongoing, and the lessons from that is what is more valuable. Sometimes it's not even the organization. The lessons you get from that is what really gave me the value. And finally, as I keep saying, even to myself, to my team, we are just 5 years. Personally, I'm just 5 years into the field of entrepreneurship, and the thing that I find to be most important is that we need to keep moving. The journey to entrepreneurship is not, it's also about the money you make and the impact you make. But more than that, the money gets to a point where it's not important. It's who you become. Because who you become is more important than the money. And this is, I experienced it in real time because when my organization is Stowelink at my second year, we seemed to be doing well. When we dropped off from the roof back to the grass and I lost all the members of my team except one, what enabled me to restart, picking up the pace with this organization was the fact that I had the experience, I had the information, I had the know-how, to bring it back again, to bring it back to life, to go again and readjust, recalibrate, think about the problems. And so that information, that experience, the networks you gain, that is what is more valuable than the money and more than anything else. So as I start this conversation today, that is, I wanted to start from that point just to give a brief of my story, and where I've come from and where I am currently. And currently at 24 years, I'm still pushing on. I haven't even scratched the surface of what we are about to do. We are just beginning. We are just getting started. We are in 8 countries already, but we are just getting started. We haven't even scratched a bit of, where we are going. And moving forward, I recognize the fact that new levels bring new devils, which means new steps bring new challenges. But I'm ready for that. I'm prepared for that. And I know that the past challenges and the past mistakes that I have made and the past experiences that I've encountered back then are what that has kept me moving forward. And because I experienced those and learned from them, I'm ready now for the next challenges. And that is what life is. Life is about going through the challenges, learning from them, getting the rewards, then getting to bigger challenges. If you get to the top of a mountain, you don't stop there and celebrate. As an entrepreneur, you find a bigger mountain to climb. But before you are able to find the bigger mountain to climb, you should be able to have overcome your challenges while climbing this small mountain to get to the top of this mountain. And so that is a brief of my story. And sometimes I may bore you with that, but once again, I always feel, excited just to share that story. And as a brief introduction to who I am and to why I'm doing, what I'm doing in the health field and also in the entrepreneurship field. So moving into today's lesson, I'd like to set precedence with a short story, a short example to get us started. So in the Bible, and I'm not an expert in the Bible per se, but there is this story in the Bible. And if you're a student of public presentation, if you're a student of education, you will know that this presentation that I'm about to talk about was one of the best presentations that was ever made in the history of mankind. This was one of the best presentations that was ever made. And this is set where the apostles are, they are preaching to people. They are in the community. They want to convert people. They are giving a wonderful presentation on Christ and all of that. And as they give this wonderful, amazing presentation, at the end of it, there were various reactions to their presentation. There were various reactions, and one was that they were the mockers. There were people who, looked at them and say, what are these guys talking about? They want us to convert. They want us to be Christians. They want us to follow this and follow that and change our ways and stuff like that. So they were the mockers. But the other reaction that came from the crowd, there were those people who didn't know what was going on. And these people were easier to spot because, they are always out there, talking, asking, what is going on? And what are they saying? So, those people were easier to spot because they didn't know what was going on. And so they kept asking, what is going on? What are they talking about? But then there were other people, also who reacted to this presentation given by the 12 disciples, And this other group of people, these were the critics. These are the people who went in and looked for all the faults that could be in those presentations and how what they were saying could not be possible and why they should not follow. And they were always criticizing and just following here and there and trying to look up the mistakes, And these people are there. They were reacting to this amazing, exceptional public presentation. And well, as I was analyzing this text, I thought to myself, why would someone, criticize an amazing presentation? And the answer that I found after long thinking, it was simple. Simply, they are the critics. And so their work is to critique, and you can't afford to have them do anything else except to critique. And as I continue to see the reactions, from the people who are listening to this presentation. There was a fourth group, and this group were the believers, you know, people who believed in what these apostles were saying on this presentation on the Pentateuch, So, and it was amazing because despite having a very huge crowd, and despite this being their very first presentation, the people, the apostles, these 12 disciples, they were able to get 3,000 people to believe in them and to convert in them. And I thought to myself, well, this is amazing. This is an amazing presentation. This is amazing because I've had fast talks, and I'm assuming those who are listening and have had these experiences. I've been able to go and talk to people and want to convince them or want to educate them or want to get them to do something. But to get 3,000 on your first day, that was amazing. And, that is the talk. And so the lesson that I got from this talk is there will always, be the mockers. In whatever you do, there'll always be people who mock. And it beats me, when you go and talk to people and people are not just mocking you, you should not try very hard to figure them out. Take the simple approach. Why are they mocking me? Why are they bringing me down? Why are they stressing me? Simply, they are the mockers and they have to be there in the crowd. Next, you'll find those who don't know what is going on, and those will be simple to spot because they'll always ask what is going on. And then there'll always be the critics, those who want to bring you down. You want to see mistakes in you, in your what you're bringing to the world. Those will always be there. And don't worry yourself about changing these people and transforming them. No, don't worry about them. And then you'll always get the believers. You'll always get those who believe in you. And for the disciples, they got 3,000 believers. But for most of us, when we bring something to the world, the believers most often, will be the 10%. There'll be just 10% of the general population that you talk to that will believe in your message and take action to your message. And this is the interesting part. Guess what, these disciples did after this amazing presentation? Sorry. Guess what they did? They didn't try to change these people so that they convert them. No. They simply went and did the next presentation elsewhere. And they got the mockers, they got those who don't know, they got the critics, but also they got their believers. And they went to the next and they went to the next. And, it's crazy. 2,000 years later, we have a whole generation of people following, these instructions or these presentations that were given by the disciples. And that is just to set precedence for what life is really as an entrepreneur, but also just life in general. There will be the mockers, the presenters, those who don't know, and the critics. And the best way to grow your agenda, the best way to grow your business is after you've gotten your believers, you move to the next and you do the presentation, and then you move to the next, and that is how, life goes on. That is how it happens. And so, what is the entrepreneurship journey? What is the journey? What are we going to briefly, talk about today? And as I was thinking about this presentation, the fundamentals to entrepreneurship, I had a lot of things to talk about. I had a bit of the hard stuff to talk about. The business, the books, the management, stuff like that. And then I thought to myself, that is not really the fundamental. That is not where I started from. That is not what I needed when I was starting off. And, as with life experiences, today I'll share with you what the fundamentals really are to entrepreneurship. And it's not, the management, it's not the books, managing the books, it's not even crowdfunding, it's not even getting the funding, but we learn what it is in this presentation. And so, what is the entrepreneurship journey? The step one is what most of us miss, which is what we're going to talk about. But the step two is mastering, the business skills. And step 3 is just getting started, taking action. Step 4 is, getting to scale up stage, which is where I am currently with Stowelink. And step 5 is, getting to a fully fledged company that runs multiple projects and multiple ventures in multiple countries and stuff like that. So, it depends on your goals. But really, what is the first step? What is step 1 of business and of personal development? And so I find it very interesting that the first step really in the journey of personal development, the very first step is that you have to work on yourself. And this illustration puts it so nicely, so wonderfully, that you have to sculpture yourself. You have to train yourself. And even as I venture into this, step 1, one of the things that I like to really emphasize is that before you learn to fly the aeroplane, you need to learn how to fly the aeroplane. You need to know how you're going to fly this aeroplane before you actually fly the aeroplane. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen in the young entrepreneurs that I coach, is that when we want to go into business, when we want to go into entrepreneurship, when we want to go into various entities of starting businesses and projects and programs, we just jump into it. We just jump into it. We assume, we assume that because we have the personal drive, and that because we have, the energy, and that because we are ready, we jump into it. And that, in fact, is the wrong way to do it. And, I learned it the hard way. I learned it the hard way with Stowelink. I just jumped into it before getting to the step 1, which is actually learning how to fly the aeroplane. I sort of just went into, the cockpit of the aeroplane and just started to fly the aeroplane around. And sure, we did have some near-death accidents as we were flying our aeroplane, but I learned on the job. I learned on the job quick enough, and I was able to save the aeroplane before it crashed. And so before you go into business, before you start anything, you first have to invest the time required to learn these things. You have to invest the time to learn your field, to learn your knowledge, to learn your expertise, to learn what will be needed of you. You have to learn. So that is the first step, really. What is the first step? That it is the first step. So in this presentation, we're going to have, I'm going to take you through 4 lessons to learn. And then perhaps if there will be questions at the end, from our viewers, and also pre-organized questions from More Global, I could be able to answer that. So what are the 4 lessons to learn in order for us to maximize on the first step to, startup success, to entrepreneurial success, to mastering the fundamentals of startup success? And so, very simple, very simple, very, very simple. I'd like to take us back a bit to that slide here. So the first step is that we need to get serious. We need to get serious, and I'm going to explain what that means in detail, what it means to get serious. The second step is that we need to get smart. We need to get smart. Very simple, step 2. Step 3, we need to get going. We need to get moving. We got to keep it moving. And step 4, we need to get better. And so these are the 4 steps that I'm hoping to take us through this presentation. And then we could have a bit of discussion around that as our time permits. So step 1, get serious. Very interesting phrase, very serious, very interesting phrase. And a bit of a background to this. When I was looking for partners to work with in our current project, the NCDS to 65 project, when I was looking for more global foundation, when I was looking for other partners, 12 partners now in 8 countries, when I was looking for them, when they showed interest to partner with us, the first thing that I would assess from them is, are they serious? Are they serious in learning? Are they ready to learn? And it's interesting because most of the time, we get excited. Today, I feel like I want to change the world. I want to start this business that is going to revolutionize how things are done. And we are not serious about it. And how we know that we are not serious about it is when our actions don't show that we're serious about it. When our actions don't present that we are serious about it, we know what we want to do, but we don't do it. We are not serious. And so the first step is we need to get serious. And so in the step of getting serious, the first thing you do is you need to analyze your present status. So let me use my example, with Info4food, which is the other organization, that the other company that I run. So with Info4food, I knew that, when I was moving in the streets where I live in the markets, a lot of food is being wasted, food is going to rot because there's a lot of food coming to the city. But also farmers are losing a lot because, they're not able to preserve their food, in a cost-effective way. And so if I wanted to solve that problem and I was serious about solving the problem, the first thing that I knew I had to do this time around as I was starting this was actually the 4th company I was starting off, I needed to analyze what was my present status. What was it that, what was the situation? What is the situation on the ground? But more importantly, what is the situation within myself? So on the ground, I needed to check things like, what is the problem? Where is the problem? It's in the market, but also in the farms who are going at a loss, stuff like that. But also, more importantly, I needed to check with myself, can I be able to do this? Do I have the necessary information to get me here? Can I be able to get the resources to get me here? Can I be able to manage people to help me achieve this goal of preserving food through low technology to ensure that farmers do not waste foods? Did I have the expertise in the field, of food preservation and agriculture? So I needed to analyze, what is my present status? What are my strengths? Management, crowdfunding. What are my weaknesses? I'm not an expert in this field. I need people, I need surveyors, etc. So I needed to analyze my present status for me to know where I am. And so when you're starting off your business, when you are thinking of starting off your business, you need to analyze, what is your present status? Where do you stand with this problem? What can you do? What can't you do? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Funny story is that imagine you are going to the capital city of your country, and you hadn't been in that country at all, and there were no directions, to guide you through the country, and all the buildings were painted white, and all the buildings looked similar. You know the capital city where you are going, but you don't know where you are at the moment. And so imagine that situation. Imagine if you were to go to, the capital city. I dropped you in the middle of nowhere. It's all painted white. You know where you are going, which is the capital city, but you don't know where you are. You could, when you think about that situation, you could be walking towards the capital city and get there, and then move past the capital city because you don't know where you are. You might be in the city itself, but you still don't know that you are in the city. You may get to the city and start walking further away from the city because you don't know that you are in the city, And this is the importance of knowing where you are before knowing where you are going to. Knowing where you are is more important when starting off because this is what sets precedence to where you are going. People who don't know where they are sometimes people who I refer to as not serious. They don't know their present situation. They don't know their strengths and their weaknesses in their ventures that they're trying to do. And I've seen this with Kreative Hub, especially the entrepreneurs that I've trained through the Kreative Hub. I see within themselves, they really know that they want to do this and this and this and change the world and do ABCD, but they don't know where they are. They don't know what they know. They don't know what they know. I need to repeat that. They don't know their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, their challenges. They don't know any of that. And so the first step in getting serious is we need to know where we are. We need to know that. The second step in getting serious, or the second pointer, is we need to develop habits. This is a very interesting thing because earlier this year, earlier last year actually, I found that I was beginning to relax on going to the gym. And my time schedule could not allow me, to go to the gym, to work out. The 2 hours, I could not dedicate 2 hours in the evening, to go to the gym, too busy running 3 companies, other ventures, getting to school. It was difficult. So I couldn't be able to go to the gym. And so I began thinking to myself, if I'm not going, to the gym, then I'm losing my physical strength. And physical strength is an important factor, to the journey of an entrepreneur. You need to be physically strong for you to be able to be mentally strong, spiritually strong, to be able to drive your business. And so when I noticed that I was losing on this habit, I figured out I needed to reevaluate my daily timetable and sort of start to develop a new habit. And so what I figured out is that because I couldn't go to the gym, I needed to bring the gym to my house. I needed to bring gym home. And so what I did, from that time moving forward is that I broken it down from simply going and lifting the heavy weights to the gym to actually having a home workout. Having a home workout in my house gym, getting things done in the house. And my house gym wasn't very complicated. I simply bought a yoga mat, and that was it. And I committed myself to doing a very, very simple routine that took me 30 minutes just to exercise my body and to get it stretched up and going. So I committed every day. I would wake up, I added it to my morning routine so that my morning routine would look like I would wake up, exercise, then meditate, then study or for 30 minutes, and the day gets started. So I brought my workout to the morning routine, and it was so simple. I started with just doing 50 press-ups and a few core exercises, and that was it. Very simple, 20-30 minutes, I'm done. But I wanted to, because I learned from Jim Rohn that the simple habits, the small, simple habits done every day is what accumulates to massive success. They say Rome was not built in a day, but each and every second they were laying the bricks. And so in my developing this new habit of workout, I was laying my bricks every day through very short, simple workout routine. And so what is the point here? The point here, you need to develop a habit. You need to get where you are not strong at, and then develop a habit to make you strong in that area. I realized I'm lagging in my workout routine, and so I decided to implement a very simple 30-minute routine and do it every day, and I've now been at it for 2 years, and you wouldn't believe the transformation I've had, in my physical outlook and in how I feel, in my productivity, in my health. You wouldn't believe it. It's because I decided to every day follow a simple routine, and that is develop simple. What is simple to do is also very, very hard to do. Something simple like an apple a day keeps the doctor away. You might start eating the apple today and tomorrow, but keeping that for a whole month, then 2 months, then a whole year is very hard. It's hard. And that is the trick to it. You have to take the simple routines. And for those who are serious, are the people who get these simple routines done and transformed into habits. And again, just as I talk here, the biggest book I'd suggest you to read at this point is The 5 a.m. Club by Robert Sharma. Exceptional book on habits. Step number 3, setting goals. We need to have the right goals set for our success. We need to learn how to set goals. And setting goals is as simple as taking a paper and writing down what you need to do. Setting goals starts like that, very simple. Take a paper down, sit with yourself, and write down each and everything that you need to be doing. That is what setting goals begins from. So that is the thing. And in setting goals, I just quickly brush into this. You use the 120 formula. And the 120 formula is simple. Identify the big goal that you want to achieve. For me, with with Stowelink, the big goal was that I needed to make sure that people get the right information on health and people get the right diagnostic services. That is the big goal. Now, break this big goal into 20 small actionable steps that you can start doing today and do those things. And if you start to do the things that you've broken down out of your 20, you'll begin to achieve your goal. You'll begin laying the bricks that in the end will build your Rome. So that is the first step. Get serious. Summarize as analyze your present status, learn about yourself and your venture that you're going into, develop habits to strengthen your strengths and to strengthen your weak sides, and then set goals to give you a direction to where you are going into. So if you take a minute and just look into it, analyzing yourself means knowing where you are. Developing goals means getting habits and routines to prepare you to go to where you are going into. And setting goals, when you look at it, setting goals is where you're going into. It gives you that direction to where you're going into. And I just love that analysis. So that is step 1. Know where you are, develop the habits to get you to where you need to get to. Analyze, habits, goals. Step 1. Step 2. I love this step. I really love this one. Step 2, get smart. Get smart. When you need to go to where you need to go as an entrepreneur, as a business person, the second step that you need to actively take is you need to get smart. You need to get smart. And what does get smart mean? What is involved? What are the 3 steps in getting smart? 1, develop a personal philosophy. Personal philosophy is the idea that you believe in that drives you above anything else. And for me, my personal philosophy is that action is the real measure of intelligence. That is my personal philosophy. Action is the real measure of intelligence. And that could be your personal philosophy. It's a very simple, very real, very practical philosophy. Why is developing a personal philosophy important? Personal philosophy is the thing that gets you moving when all else seems to stop. Personal philosophy is what will take you from step A to B to Z. Personal philosophy is your drive for the day, is your drive for the week, is your drive for what you are doing. What am I doing? What is my personal philosophy? What do I believe in? Personal philosophy will help you know what you want and what you can tolerate, but it will also help you know what you can't tolerate and what you don't need, to tolerate. And that is the importance of personal philosophy. And so my personal philosophy is very simple. Action is the real measure of intelligence. So more than just talking, more than just philosophy, more than just thinking about it, take action. That is my personal philosophy. It could be yours. And I don't know what you believe in, but that's just my suggestion. You need to develop a strong personal philosophy to get you to where you need to go. Step one. Step two, learn. Learn. Step two is actually just learn. Getting smart means that you need to know what you don't know and then go ahead and work on it to get to what you need to know. Back there in step one, we talked about knowing where you are. Knowing where you are also means identifying your weaknesses and areas where you are not very strong at. And once you have identified this, that then helps you to go into step two, which is learning from personal experience. Learning from, and so I love this analysis. I really love this analysis, and I'm intent on helping us understand where learning from personal experience and books and what it can do to you. So, personally, in my life's example, and giving example to what I've been able to do at Stowelink, I'm not generally as what people would call genius or in smart, and I'm not that kind of a person. I'm the kind of person who needs to learn and relearn and repeat something before they get it. So naturally, I know within myself that even in class, and I knew this from a very early age, that even in class, I was not the person, to get it. The teacher would teach and get it, and that is it. That's not me. I have to get it from the class. I have to take my notes, go to the library, summarize those notes, reread them again, summarize them again, go to the internet, look for relevant content, go to the books, get more books. And so, looking at that example, I was not very smart, but I knew that if I wanted to succeed at anything, I had to learn how to get smarter. And getting smarter means you need to learn from, let me start from books, learning from books. There are a lot of books that have been written out here. I know if you're not confident, there are a lot of books written on how to be confident. If you don't know how to negotiate, there are a lot of books written on how to negotiate. And that is me. I didn't know how to negotiate primarily. And so I needed to read a book called The Art of Negotiation. If you need to learn about finance, there are books written on that. If your weakness is marketing and advertising, there are books written on marketing and advertising. And so in the process of getting smart, you need to learn from books. Here's the other thing. Books might be long and strenuous and sometimes not interesting to read, and I get that. But again, the serious people will read books. But more than that, in the 21st century, we have the online platforms. And I wouldn't tell you, online platforms has been my biggest advantage to my success as an entrepreneur and as an individual. Because through online platforms, I've learned new courses, I've learned new skills, I've attended webinars like this, to learn from other people who know more than I do. I've gotten to get all of this experience because of the online platform. And I usually say, in the 21st century, the biggest opportunity we have had ever in our lives is the fact that we are able to access the internet. That is the biggest opportunity. And if you know how to utilize the internet, you can literally change your life. Let me give you an example with Stowelink. So when starting up, I knew I needed to develop a website. I knew I needed to learn about email marketing. I knew I needed to develop presentations, and I didn't know to do any of this. In fact, it took me up to my 22nd year to own my own laptop. But before that, there was already the internet, and through the phone, I was able to learn how to code, and I developed my website. I learned how to do a whole lot of other things, marketing and advertising and prototyping, design thinking. All of those I learned them from the online platforms. So in my success, I would credit a lot to the online platform because I was able to harness the power of the internet to work to my advantage. And there are a lot of things that you can learn on the internet for free, for free. YouTube, if you get the right YouTube channels, you can learn accounting from zero to getting it correctly. You can learn how to develop personal brands, organizations. You can learn anything from YouTube if you get the right channel. And so the online platforms are some of the biggest opportunities that we have for the 21st century to learn, to learn. Guess what happens to a pilot who gets into the cockpit and hasn't learned how to drive, the airplane? Get what happens to them? They simply crash. And because I don't want you to crash when you're starting your business, I need you to learn fast before you earn. 3, learn from personal experiences. Now, when I was starting, when I was starting Info4food, which is my other company, I knew that I had failed from Stowelink because of a few things that I didn't do correctly. And so I learned from that. And something that I learned that is very interesting is that sometimes the best way to get it right is to do it wrong. That is one of the best ways to get it right, to do it wrong. But guess what the trick is? Don't do it long enough. Don't do it too long. Get it wrong the first time, but learn from it, then adapt. That is the thing. That is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about learning from personal experiences. Don't get it wrong for long, but learn from your mistakes. Learn from personal experiences. Learn from other people's experiences. And learning from other people's experiences is in the books. And again, this is the other thing. You don't need to learn everything the hard way. No, you don't need to learn everything the hard way. You can avoid some traps and some mistakes by simply learning from other people's experience. And guess where other people's experiences are found? They are found in webinars like this. They are found in books that those people have written about the experiences. They are found in the networks that you have from these people and the lessons that they teach. So more than just learning from personal experiences, learn from other people's experiences. Get smart. Don't be lazy in learning. Don't be lazy in learning. If you don't know something, pursue it seriously and pursue it with the intent to learn from it and to learn everything that you need to know about it. Pursue it ferociously. Don't be lazy in learning. Learn new skills. If you don't know something, go and read from the books. Go to the online courses. Go and hear from people's experiences. Attend webinars like this. Don't be lazy in learning. And that is the third and the most important step in getting smart. So let me summarize getting smart for you. 1, develop a personal philosophy. 2, learn from personal experience. And 3, learn from personal experience, online courses, online platforms, and from books. And 3, Don't don't be lazy in planning. Get smart. Step 3, get going. And so, in as much as you've gotten smart, you've gotten through step 1, you have this new information, you have this energy going for you, you have this new excitement going for you. Guess what? If you sit down with that energy, with that excitement, with that drive, and don't act on it, guess what happens? It dies off. I mean, simple example. When you go to the gym, and you're lifting weights. When you lift weights, we all know what would happen to the muscle when, you start to lift the weights. Naturally, the biceps will grow if the bicep is where you are exercising. If you don't lift the weights, the biceps won't grow. So if you don't go to the gym to pursue the activity of lifting the weight will not be lifted. That is what I'm saying. The other thing here with get going, before I get into the steps, is I'm looking for the perfect word to give it, and I'll give it in the form of a story. In the form of a story, how to get going. A famous example has been given, and again, one of the ancient scripts, where an individual is excited, is motivated, is energized, is feeling high, in the mind. He wants to do something. But because he doesn't take the step while it is too hot, the something doesn't happen. Now, this is summarized in the step that bend the iron while it is still hot. While it is still hot, while the emotions are hot, while the philosophy is hot, while the ideas are hot, while the lessons you've learned are still hot and fresh in your mind, that is the time to take the hammer and bend the iron into the beautiful ornaments that you want to make from the irons while it is still hot. Because guess what? If you delay and it gets cold, then you don't get to bend the iron because it gets cold. And now you'll need to spend even more energy to get it hot again before you are able to bend it. So once you've gone through step 1 and step 2 and you are feeling excited and you are feeling energized, get going immediately. So first step in get going. Should do something, could do something, don't do something. That is the formula of failure. You should do it, you can do it, you don't do it, failure. Simple like that. The opposite is you should do it, you could do it, and then you do it, and that is the formula of success. That is the formula of success. And so we need to get going. Should, could, don't, failure. Should, could, do, success. Memorize that because that is utterly important to keep us going. Should do it, could do it, don't do it. I'm telling you, you'll fail. Simple, plain, straightforward. Step 2. Start with the small disciplines. Start with the very small disciplines. In my case, when it came to my personal fitness, I started with 50 press-ups a day. And that, to me, is a small discipline. And I woke up every day and I repeated my 50 press-ups, and I woke up every day and I repeated those. And currently, I'm feeling nice, I'm energetic. My body is so much more developed and healthier because I developed a simple discipline, and I started from the simple discipline. Guess what happens when you start with a small discipline and you are consistent with it? It influences all the other disciplines. It influences all the other disciplines. And when I explain this to my friends, they sometimes tell me that, well, I'm not feeling motivated to go and read the book, or to go and do the course, or to go and learn what I need to learn, go and run, go and eat the apple a day. I'm not feeling motivated. And guess where motivation comes from? I discovered this small secret in a book called Eat That Frog, and this secret has changed my life completely. When starting off, I used to depend on external motivation, on people talking to me, motivating me, getting me going, getting me excited, motivational speaking and all of that. That was how I started off. But I realized soon enough that the motivation stops, and it dies down, and then I cannot be able to move forward with the motivation, and I just get lazy, and I sort of got sort of addicted to motivation to start. And so that when I was not motivated, I couldn't do anything. What I learned from this book changed my life, because it taught me that the trick to getting motivated is getting started, getting going. When you finish the first task of the day, for instance, in my morning routine, when I finish my workout, which is my biggest frog to eat in the day, when I finish that biggest task, guess what happens to the brain? The brain produces the feel good hormones, the endorphins. When the brain produces these hormones, then I'm feeling good, I'm motivated, I'm excited. This is called the principle of compulsion to completion. Compulsion to completion. Once you complete the task, you get motivated at the end of the first task. And that is why it is very important to master that first task, that morning routine. Once you've gone through the morning routine successfully, you feel excited to go and do the next thing. And when the next thing is done, the hormones are produced. You feel excited again to do the next thing. And it's just a lovely, lovely series of events. It's a lovely series of events. So the thing is, you need to develop internal motivation. And developing internal motivation is it's not hard, it's not hard. It's simply start a task and finish it. And then when you finish the task, the hormones will be produced to get you motivated to do the next task. Now, guess what is the secret to that formula? Start with your biggest task for the day. So for me, working out is perhaps the biggest task of my morning routine. And because working out sometimes is boring, and sometimes you wake up and you don't feel like working out. You don't feel like get going. For other people, the biggest task in the office work is ensuring that they have made the relevant calls. And so calling people is not very interesting. People get very nasty remarks when they call others. It's not a lovely thing. Sometimes for others, the biggest task is getting the course done or reading the chapter. And so when you finish your biggest task, the first thing, the brain will produce the biggest amount of hormones in relation to the big task. And these hormones will get you, to the next step, will get you excited and motivated and energized to do the next task. How you trick this and how you get this to work is very simple. Get a to-do list. Write everything in your to-do list. I need to wake up and exercise. I need to do meditation. I need to read. I need to go to the office and make 10 calls today. I need to do bookkeeping. I need to call our financial manager. I need to learn this course. All the nitty-gritties, put them in a list. Then order them in order of priority, but also in order of what is the biggest and the most important task. When you complete that big, most important task, the first thing, you will feel energized to go and complete the second biggest task, and then the third, and then the fourth, and then the fifth. And that is what is called using your brain's chemistry to work for you, using it to keep you going. Guess what keeps the athletes going? Guess what keeps them going? When they complete the first round, the first mile, they're excited for the second mile. And when they complete the second mile, they're excited for the third mile. And they may be running 42 miles, but they are able to trick their minds into completing their biggest task, which is accomplishing these miles. And as they complete these miles, their brain is triggered to release more hormones to keep them motivated to move forward. So what I'm talking about here at step 2 is simply harness the power of your brain chemistry to work for you by completing the biggest task you have for the day and using the excitement, the energy, the motivation that the hormones bring to then move into your next task and your next task. And that is how you get motivated, and that is how you get internally activated, and that is how you get going. Number 3, get stronger. As you are going, you are getting stronger. As you are going, you're getting stronger. And you need to put the principles of getting stronger at the forefront of your processes of getting going. When you're starting a business, you're starting a project, you have been able to sell to 10 people, you are now in the get-going step. You've been able to sell your product to 10 people. And now you need to sell it to 20 more people. You need to get strong enough to now be able to get to sell to these 20 other people. And guess what you need to do? When you need to get strong, you start small and then you build on these small steps. You don't start with the big target. No, you might miss it. You might miss it. And when you miss it, if it is too big, it might discourage you. So you start small, start with things that you can actually accomplish. It is small, sometimes it's even insignificant, but the fact that you can accomplish it gets you ready to handle the bigger tasks. It builds your muscle. Guess what? When you are going to the gym and you say, I'm feeling excited, I want to go and lift 200 kgs, and you've never stepped into the gym before, and you're getting excited, you're getting going, and you go to the gym. When you see the 200 kgs and you do your first rep, and you notice that you can't do it, two things can happen to you. Is that you can get so discouraged, you never want to go to the gym again because you failed. But if you went to the gym and started with 10 kgs, and managed to successfully lift the 10 kgs, then you are getting excited that maybe I can do 11, and then 12, and then maybe 20, and in due time, maybe 200, getting to the goal. And so getting stronger means that you need to start small, and you need to move past getting small. Once you've been able to get the 10 kgs lifted, once you can be able to make the 10 cells comfortably, don't stay in 10 cells. No. Move to selling 20 cells, and then to 30, and then to 40, and then to 50. Move ahead. Constantly challenge yourself with things. Guess what exercise is? Exercise is constantly getting yourself to controlled failure. When you go to the gym and lift weights, and you lift weights that now you are not able to lift, you are doing controlled failure, and it is this controlled failure that gets you stronger. So learn to go and learn to grow past your small accomplishments, increasingly and gradually improve and challenge, increase the challenge, control it, so that as you grow, you are not staying at step 1, but you are step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, and that is how you get stronger. So summary of step 3 on get going. 1, should do it, could do it, don't do it equals failure. Should do it, could do it, do it equals success. Simple, straight to the point. Number 2, start with small disciplines and maintain small disciplines. Start small. This will give you the energy to move into the bigger things. Number three, as you maintain the small disciplines, constantly upgrade, constantly seek new challenges, constantly seek new areas of development. And guess what this will do to you? It will get you stronger. So, step three, get going. Finally, step four. Step four is the final step of getting the fundamentals of entrepreneurship. And step four is get better. Get better. Learn new things. Get better. So, the first step at getting better is continuous personal development. The biggest investment, Warren Buffett said, and this has been echoed by a whole lot of other philosophers and billionaires, sorry for that, and entrepreneurs. The biggest investment that you can make is personal investment. Invest in your learning, invest in your development. What I've come to find, in this journey of entrepreneurship, 5 years and moving strong, what I've come to find is that the money is very important, but sometimes it's not very important. It is very important to get you moving and to get you going. But in the grander scale of things, it is not what is most important. What is most important is the information of how to get the money, how to create the impact, how to create the networks. That is what is more important than simply getting the money. And because the money can go, but if you know how to make more, then simple. You just go and make more because you have the information. You are personally developed. You know the skills, the resources, Then you are able to go and make more. But guess what? If they take what is in your brain and you have the money, soon enough you will lose the money because you don't know how to keep it. You don't know how to maintain it. And so, as an entrepreneur, in learning the fundamentals, continuous personal development is extremely important because this is what life makes you. Jim Rohn says that it's not what you get out of life that makes you, but it's what information, it's what development, it's what life makes of you. So it's not the money that is important, but the skill. It's who you become. In life, it's not what you get. In life, it's who you become that defines your success. So as you focus on personal continuous development, you learn to become a better person. You learn to become more educated. You learn to become more informed. Guess what? And especially in 2020, the people who thought that they knew where the world is going, the people who sort of stopped personal development and stopped reading because they knew where the world was going into, right now, they're the ones who are facing the biggest hit in terms of business when it comes to the situation with coronavirus. Coronavirus has made it so that the learners are the ones that are inheriting the profits. All the profits belong to people who are constantly learning, constantly adapting, constantly developing themselves. Nokia was a very successful phone brand. It was the biggest global, it was bigger than Apple for many, many, many years. But guess what? When the wave came that there were now touch screens and there were now 2G internets and that mobile phones needed to adapt, Nokia thought that they have been dominating for long and they have no reason to adapt. And guess what happened to them? They became an instant failure. The company moved from being the leading to being not talked about because they simply forgot to learn. They simply forgot to do continuous personal development. The other company is Kodak, Kodak for the cameras. In history, they were some of the biggest producers of handheld cameras. But as time goes, new technology came in, and digital cameras sort of began to take shape. But Kodak, which was the biggest, and if they had harnessed this opportunity, they would have been the biggest company. They didn't harness this opportunity. Guess what happened to them? A lot of failure. And so, if you're not continuously developing, if you're not continuously getting yourself better as an entrepreneur, what will happen to you is that you will face the same acts that cut Nokia and Kodak when they didn't learn and personally continue to develop. And so personal continuous development is extremely important for an entrepreneur because the world is changing, and especially in 2020, it has really changed. Right now, we are not able to do these conferences in person. We are talking online. What if we decided that we knew how to organize events so well in the community and getting the halls to work so well, and so we could not be able to adopt into the online platforms? Guess what would have happened? We would have lost it. The people who learned how to manage and adapt, those are the people who are presented by the world to survive. And guess how you adopt? Through continuous personal development. This I can't insist enough. You need to continuously learn to improve yourself. Learn the trends in your field. Learn how your business is going. What are the new things? What is the development? That is very key to getting better. Step one, continuous personal development. In the company, something that is always very important is called a strategic plan. But when you develop the strategic plan, guess what has to be done with this plan? It has to be reviewed annually, to see what are the areas that have changed. What are the areas that have changed that we can now adapt into? Personal continuous development, very important. Step two, handle the life's season. Know how to handle the seasons of life. And in the context of Africa, we generally have two seasons, the rainy seasons and the sunny seasons. So what do these two represent, and how can we be able to handle these seasons to prepare us to get better as we master the fundamentals of entrepreneurship? The rainy seasons is what 2020 is. It's the hard times, the times when you can't go outside, the times when it is difficult, the time when your business faces challenges and you're making serious losses. It's the time when everybody, leaves your company and you seem like you're not having any future. That is 2020. That is the rainy season. Rainy season is the time when it seems like nothing is moving ahead. It's foggy, it's muddy, it's cold. The business environment, is just not livable. These are the times when you feel like giving up, stopping, quitting, because business is not working. And why would you waste your time there? Guess what you need to do during the rainy season? You need to master the rainy season. You need to know how to survive through the hard times. You need to know how to develop even during the hard times. You need to see the silver lining in the dark clouds. You need to understand that these rainy seasons will always be here. Will always be here. And therefore, we need not to ask for, by taking the rainy season off the calendar does not mean that the rainy season won't come. It will come. It has to come. And so instead of asking for lighter weight, because there is no lighter weight, in fact, the more you progress as an entrepreneur, the heavier the weight becomes. We need to ask for stronger backs. And how do we get stronger backs? We get them through continuous development. We get them through learning through our life's challenges. We get them through learning through experiences, our experiences, other people's experiences, all the things that we've talked about previously. These are the things that give us the stronger backs to handle the rains. They are things that gives us the hard time to handle the rains. But also, guess what the rains are? The rains are opportunity. The rains are an opportunity. When it is raining and you are able to see the silver lining, you will go out to the field and plant. You'll go out to the field and get your crop ready. It is raining, but you've chosen to see the brighter side of the rain, the silver lining, the good thing that the rain brings. It is hard. We have no money, but there's a lesson, in this. So we need to prepare. We need to make use of this rain. We need not to waste these hard times. Hard times come, and if hard times come and we don't learn from them, then we have wasted our rain. If we cannot be able to learn from our failures, we have wasted the rain. We have not planted anything. If we use the rain to learn the hard things and to repair all the hard things, because when it is raining, we are indoors. We are at home. We are indoors. We can be able to repair the leaking roofs. The rain exposes the leaking roofs. We can be able to repair them. We can be able to make changes here and there. That is what the rain is for. That is what the hard times are for. People are not working in your company and you are getting, people want to leave. What is the problem? Identify the problem. That is the rain. During the rain, you need to see the problem. And once you see these problems, you find solutions to them. And that is how you maximize on the rainy season. So that when the sun comes out and people are getting out, people are getting out to harvest, people are getting out to enjoy the sun. Guess what you shall have done during the rainy season? You shall have developed, you shall have grown, you shall have been ready to handle the sun. Guess what the sun is? The sunny season is the time when opportunities are here, is the time when business is good, is the time when we are selling a lot, we are creating more impact, a lot of development is happening. Guess the lessons of the sun. You need to protect your crop during the sunny season, because there are people intent on ensuring that they take your crop. And if you planted during the rainy season, during the harvesting time, during the sunny season, you need to protect your crops from the moles and the negative people and the disruptive optimists and the critics. You need to protect your rain from all of that to ensure that you harvest. During the sunny seasons of life, you need to maximize on the opportunities that they present. Because guess what will come after the sunny season? We'll go back to the rainy season. And so while there are opportunities, while there are areas of development, while there is good growth in the organization, maximize on those, get enough harvest in your barns, protect the crops, get the harvest, so that when the rain is back again, this time round we are ready, we are prepared, we have a lot of food, our roofs are not leaking, and we are able to go through the rain with stronger backs. So handle the seasons of life, and in our context, learn how to handle the hard times, which is the rainy seasons, and learn how to handle the good times, which is the sunny seasons. And all these two seasons have valuable lessons that if we are able to harness these lessons, then we are able to become successful, exceptional entrepreneurs. Number 3, create your library. I can't insist on this enough. Guess what? Wherever you're living in the world, Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda, Tanzania, US, Canada, India, anywhere, guess what houses over $10 million have in common? All of them have a library. They have a reading nook. They have a set of books. Why do you think that the rich people have books? Have libraries? Why do you think that? Because they know they need to get better. They need to learn from the books. They need to learn from the experiences. And their libraries really represent how serious they are, you know. So create your library. And one of the easiest ways to create your library is one, go to your shelf, and buy a few books and just stack them there, and that becomes your first library. It becomes where you have books. And in the 21st century, we can even create our libraries on the phones, on our laptops, on our gadgets, so that we are having a series of books that we are actively reading, to help us get better, to help us improve. And here are some of the suggestions that I'm suggesting to you to be part of your library. One, the Bible. The Bible is one of the best libraries on its own. It's a book that contains 66 other books, which has stories of people who are of two examples. One is the examples, and two, the warnings. So the Bible is a big book that gives us stories on people whom we should learn from their successes. These are the examples. And people whom we should learn from their failures and not repeat their failures. The story of Judas, that's a warning. For example, it's warning us, don't do what he did. The story of Jesus, for example, that is an example. Follow what he did because he was successful. The story of David, that's an example. The story of Jonah being eaten by a fish, that's a warning. And so we need to, have the Bible as a good library. The Bible is an exceptional book for entrepreneurs because the lessons that are in there from the life lessons that have been put in that book are truly vital for an entrepreneur. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned myself as an entrepreneur from the Bible is that in life, you don't get what you want, you get what you deserve. The food is not given to those who are hungry, it is given to those who work. And that is why Malcolm Gladwell puts it very nicely in his book Outliers, that the Matthew effect, that the rich will continue to be richer and the poor will continue to be poorer. Why is that? It's because of the Matthew effect, what Malcolm Gladwell calls the Matthew effect. The rich will continue to be richer because of what they do, and the poor will continue to be poorer because of what they do. In life, you get what you deserve, not what you want. And so those who work will always get the food, and those who don't work do not deserve to get the food. And that is why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Some of the examples for entrepreneurs from the Bible. The next book that you should have in your library is Clarkson's book, The Richest Man in Babylon, an exceptional book on financial management. As an entrepreneur, managing your money is key because you don't have a lot of it, so you need to know how to manage it. And the book that will help you learn that, a very short 100-page book, The Richest Man in Babylon. As an entrepreneur, you need to know how to negotiate, how to create deals. And the best book I've read, to help you during negotiation is what is the title of this book? I forgot the book, but I'll be able to remember it before we continue. But you need to learn those. And the most important book perhaps I've found as an entrepreneur that has really helped me move from step A to step B, 5 years, is one book, Think and Grow Rich. This book alone will help you learn, develop, move step by step, and change the brain, because it all starts here. It all starts from the brain before we transform it to action. Think and Grow Rich is one of the best books that you need to have in your library. And the final book that you need to have as part of your library is my book, Practical Skills for Entrepreneurial Success. when it will be released later in the year. And the book provides you practical skills, 54 practical skills distributed throughout the whole year, which has 54 weeks. And every week, there'll be instructions for you as an entrepreneur to follow to lead you to developing a successful entrepreneurial venture. I would highly suggest the book when it comes out. Is something that, I'll be keeping you aloof about. It's one of the best books you could be able to have to help you as an entrepreneur. Finally, get better. In summary, one is continuously develop yourself, personal development, very key for an entrepreneur. Two, learn how to handle the seasons of life, the opportunities and the challenges, and learn from all of them, and don't waste any of them. Don't waste the challenges and don't waste the opportunities either. And three, create your library. Your library gives you exceptional examples to learn from. It gives you new information. It keeps your mind updated. It keeps you live. It keeps you thinking. It gets you growing. Get better. Step 4. And finally, that brings me to the end of the presentation. And this then gives me an opportunity to answer a few of the questions, that have arose from this presentation. So quickly, before I share the contacts, quickly, I'll take you through the summary of what we've learned is: 1, we need to get serious; 2, get smart; 3, get going; and 4, get better. And under get serious, we've said we need to analyze our present status, develop our habits, and set goals. Getting smart means we need to have a personal philosophy, learn from personal experience, and don't be lazy in learning. Third step, get going. You need to do it, you should do it, you could do it, you don't do it, failure. You should do it, you could do it, you do it, success. Start with the small disciplines and build from there and get stronger. Step 3. And step 4, getting better, continuous personal development, learning how to handle the life seasons, and creating your own library. And in conclusion to this presentation, I'd like to, conclude with another story. I'd like to conclude with another story, and the story goes like this: before you are able to plant, when it rains, when the rain rains, there are either two things that we can do. One is that we can go out there and plant our crops and get them ready for harvest. And 2, we can decide to sit in house and enjoy the warmth of our house. However, when the sun comes out, guess what happens? The ones who planted get to harvest, and the ones who stayed at home in their warmth and comfort get to borrow from those who harvested. And guess where the power position is? The power position is always with the lender and not with the borrower. And so if you want to get into the power position, if you want to learn as an entrepreneur, if you want to harness the power of fundamentals of entrepreneurship and get your business going, your venture going, your initiative going from the first step to the other, if you want to grow, you have to utilize the opportunities that are presented to us when it is raining. And we have to do whatever it takes so that when it is harvest time, we are in the power position. We are harvesting and we are able to give. Because remember, in life, you don't get what you want. You get what you deserve. Thank you very much. And if you want to reach me, you could reach me through my email, found at stowelink.com. or our website, visit our website at www.stowelink.com. Thank you very much. And perhaps now I could be able to take a few questions. I see we have around 25 minutes or so. I could be able to answer and react to a few questions as they come. Thank you.
Wow. 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 This is so massive. This is so massive. I really appreciate you that you've actually taken out of your time to bless us with this knowledge you've acquired over time. Like I always say, experience counts a lot, most especially when you want to go into entrepreneurship. Because I, for a person, been able to work with different sectors, and I understand as an accountant, I understand each business has their different ways of operating. So, like you said earlier, you said one of the most important things is continuous learning under the personal development, which most of our young entrepreneurs fails to do right now. They feel they've known it all, so they feel there is no need for continuous development, and
Mm-hmm.
they tend to forget that continuous development will definitely breed continuous growth in business.
Mm-hmm.
One thing also is you made mention of negotiation. Every young entrepreneurs are always having that challenge. So me,
Yeah.
I'll be asking from my own personal, how exactly as a young entrepreneur, how will you be able to overcome this issue of negotiation, find the right negotiation skill?
I didn't, I didn't get the question very clearly. If you could come up again and a bit loudly, yeah.
Okay, I'm asking. I said negotiation
Uh-huh.
skills
Yes.
is one of the issue that every entrepreneurs, most especially the young ones who are just coming into
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship, negotiation has always been an issue. So how does one overcome that? What are the things that you are supposed to
Amazing, amazing question. So, yeah, negotiation and negotiation skills. And how do you know when to say yes? How do you know when to say no? How do you place your price? How do you negotiate so that you get what you deserve, as an entrepreneur? So, I have a lot of answers to that, but the simple answer I'll give is this: when you want to learn about negotiation, the best way to learn it, and I wouldn't want even to preempt into this, the best way to learn it is to look for this book. It's called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. This book, I read it 2 years ago. It changed my whole life of negotiation. This book talks about how to negotiate, and it gives you the practical steps and skills to get you to negotiate, because negotiation has a lot of skills and a lot of tricks into it that cannot be explained in the answering of one question. But I could direct you to that book, Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. That is the title of the book. The book is, I mean, if you can't buy it, the book is actually available on various platforms, various ebook platforms for free, and you can be able to read it on Kindle or on Amazon. It will change your life. It will it will open your eyes to negotiation. Before I took the book actually because I failed at some negotiation, and I ended up paying double the price of something that I wanted done for me at Stowelink. And I just thought to myself, why did I suck at this negotiation skills? And so immediately I started to look at where can I be able to learn about negotiation. And I discovered this book, and it changed my life in terms of negotiation. And it's a book I suggest everyone goes and gets and reads. Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. I look into before I bring you Musa back, I just looked into the chat box, and I saw a question of stories from the Quran that have business sense. And trust me, I've read, both the Bible, the Quran, and the Bhagavad Gita, which is the other book for the Hindus. And in those three scripts of scripture, one thing is common. They may disagree on basically everything else, but the common thread in all of those three holy books is that you become what you think about. That is the underlying text that all religion, all science believes in. You become what you think about. And so, as an entrepreneur, and while you're studying the fundamentals, your brain set, how you take care of your brain, what you think is actually what you become. And so if you think negative, you become negative. If you think problems, you see problems. If you think opportunities, you get opportunities. And just allow me explain how the thinking works. So when you think of something, and why all of these three scriptures believe and emphasize on the fact that you become what you think about is that, and this is backed by science. So, say I wake up in the morning and I think, today is, it's a boring day, it's rainy, and guess what happens to the brain? The brain, through a system called the reticulum activating system, goes in there and it stimulates the part of the brain to confirm your thoughts, and this is called confirmation bias. So the reticular activating system directs the brain to confirm your primary thoughts that today is not a good day. So when you start to think like that, you start to see that it is raining, you'll start to see that it is cold, you'll start to see that you know I can't get to work. You'll start to see that the traffic is too long. You start to see that my work is boring. So the reticular activating system direct the brains to confirm your bias that today is a boring day. However, when you start to think of, wow, today is a good day, I'm loving the day, even when it is raining outside, you'll not see the rain. You'll see the rain as bringing, blessings to the land. You'll see your work, at least you have a work to go to. When you're taking the public transit, you'll see the fact that at least I have money to pay for the transit to go to work. Your brain will look for things to confirm the goodness of the day. And that is called confirmation bias. And so when we start to think positively, our life moves positively because the brain begins to look for every evidence to confirm the thoughts. And when we think negatively, our brain also moves towards the negative side and it convinces our mind that things are not okay. And so that is what I found, that all of these three scripts or religious texts really confirm to us, backed up by science, that we really become what we think about. And as entrepreneurs, this is very important. It is not theory and it is not just religion, or it is backed up by science. And the science behind it is the reticular activating system and the confirmation bias. So when you wake up, be optimistic. Learn to see the good things in the day. Learn to see the good things in your business. And that is how you are directed towards success, because the brain can never think an impossible thought. It will always want to confirm what you talk about, and that is what is called the confirmation bias. Thank you very much. So, other questions that may have arose as this discussion are going, I'd be glad to sort of have my input to them.
Okay, thank you very much for taking your time to explain that. Actually, when you mentioned Bible, so I was the one who actually said no. What about other holy book? And I'm very happy that you're able to connect everything together. That they speak one thing, which you just explained, and I really understand that. And I really appreciate that. So one of my other questions is, as an entrepreneur, money is important. Money is just like is the fuel for the car to move. As a young entrepreneur, this has always been a challenges. What are the steps? What are the ways? What do you think what advice you have for young entrepreneurs concerning financial management, concerning raising capitals, all sorts that relates to financial resources?
Right. That's a very amazing question. I really love that question. I actually expected it. So let me begin by saying that money should not be the fuel for business. For any business, money is not the fuel. It should not be the fuel. It might be the fuel currently, but it should not be the fuel. And then I'll go ahead and answer, how we make money work for us, and you know, what are the other question about management of money. So first of all, when you're starting off, you may not have the money, and this is what we call resources, but you need to become resourceful. When I was starting off Stowelink very many years ago, 5 years back, I didn't have any money at all to start the organization. I didn't have an office, I didn't have a website, I didn't have people, I didn't have employees. But guess what I had? I had some resourcefulness in me. I needed to go and get myself resourceful first before I get the money. In business we say, and correctly so, that if you chase money, you'll never get it. You need to attract money to come to you. That is what we've missed for a very long time as entrepreneurs. We are always chasing after the venture that has money. We are always chasing after the business that looks profitable. We're always chasing after where it looks like money can come from. And the problem with that is the more we chase, the more it runs. Yeah? The more we chase it, the more it runs. However, if we started to figure out how do we attract money, how do we develop ourselves to an extent that money comes to us, that is when we begin to change the game. And for a very long time at Stowelink, I was also chasing the money. I was going for initiatives that looked like, had money in them and looked like people would support them. And I found that is the wrong strategy, because if you keep chasing it, it keeps going. And it goes further and further and further, and you take a lot of energy before you catch it. However, if you decided to focus on making yourself so attractive money can't avoid, that is how you get the money. That is how we got our money at Stowelink. For 3 years, without no funding, without no support, we developed ourselves to an extent that our websites were global level. Our activities in the field were top notch. Our expertise had developed. Our networks had improved. We went ahead and created programs and created products that really resonated with the audience. We went and did our research. We made ourselves so good so that when we are moving into the 4th year, we didn't have to apply for any monies or any grants. We simply got noticed. Our work for 3 years got us noticed. And when we started receiving this notice and this recognition, then investors naturally wanted to put money with us because they can see our products. So the first 3 years, how did we survive? How did we get the money to keep us there? So the first thing is, don't go looking for investors, when you're starting up, and even probably in the first 5 years, you won't find them. Investors want to invest in places where where there is already approved concept, where there is already some revenue moving, where there is profit. Guess what? Money attracts money. The rich get richer. That is the same principle. Money attracts money. And so you have to first make the money before you're able to attract it. And so how did we keep going? Step 1, bootstrapping. We just decided that we'll use our personal savings, our personal investments to bootstrap the activities of the organization. And this would mean that we would work for free. We would pursue pro bono services as much as possible. We would do a lot of collaboration so that our cost is significantly reduced. We would develop a value chain so that we know what specifically we are good at, and then focus on that exceptionally, and then the rest of the things get partners to work with. So what we did during those first 3 years is we're building systems. We're getting ourselves, to a place where we are able to be sustainable. We're getting ourselves to a place where that we are able to operate with the least money as possible. And one of the things that had to happen during that development is we had to use our personal savings and investments. Then we had to crowdfund monies from our families and, get loans from the families, loans that you're not, these are not loans that you're going to pay really. They are just supporting it in kind. That is how we got the money, to begin. And that is how all other businesses usually get their monies. The idea that you'll start today and then get your biggest investor tomorrow, that is not happening. Even Facebook, it took them 10 years, before they went big. It took them 10 years before they got their money. Where were they getting their money the first 9 years? They were bootstrapping, they were getting them from their families, and that is how you move. So as entrepreneurs, we need to realize that the idea, the notion, the thought that we will get our money on the first year or the second year is a lie. Alibaba, it took them 19 years to get the funding to go big. All the time, they invested their monies, the monies from their families and the other businesses to bootstrap their companies. And when they got to 10 years and now they had a product and it was viable, at that point, they were now able to, get external investors interested in them enough to give them money. The other thing is, as we are developing the reasons for investors, as we are developing ourselves to attract the money, book management is very key. We need to be documenting, we need to have good bookkeeping skills so that even when investors come, we're able to demonstrate these are the much we've made, this is the profit, and this is the impact. And sometimes investors will come, if the business is for profit, they'll come for the money. But if the business is for impact, they'll come for the impact. So you also need to document the people that you've reached. What is your impact? What are your projects? Who have you talked to? How have they benefited? You need to document that so that when now you are in such a place that you are honey, you are honey, so that the bees just come to you. You are attracting the money. You are not chasing the money, So that is perhaps what I'd say in as far as money is concerned, especially when starting off companies and businesses and organizations. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that wonderful explanation. I also wanted to ask about team management, but I understand you've been able to touch when you're explaining as well. Thank you very much. You actually spent 2 hours, close to 2 hours, and just 8 minutes remaining. And I'm very sorry that we had to take much of your time. So sorry about that. We really appreciate your time. We really appreciate the knowledge shared. So once again, we really appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.
Asante Rafik.
Asante Sana, and thank you very much, Musa and the More Global, Foundation for making this possible. This is a conversation that definitely needs to be going, and we really need to get our young people interested about entrepreneurship, and we need to get them to start the right way so that they're able to escape the mistakes that we've made, and that they're able to, go stronger and get better. So I really wanted to say thank you for giving me an opportunity to share, some of my experiences in this journey of entrepreneurship. And once again, I'd obviously be very glad to do this, again when the opportunities present. But otherwise, I'd like just to say thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share briefly on my experiences and lessons that I've learned over the years on entrepreneurship, and especially today on the fundamentals, to entrepreneurship and to getting started. And even as I conclude this, everybody who's watching, you could already go and follow me and also my organization and the work that we do at Stowelink that I presented, in the former email, but also on my personal Facebook page at Practical Skills by Ogweno Stephen, just as it is shown on the PowerPoint presentation. And that is where I intend to be sharing my lessons on entrepreneurship and networking And also that is where you will get the book when it is first released. We'll share it through that platform. Otherwise, thank you very much. And in conclusion, I'd like to say that we need to get going. We need to get going. We need to get started, but we need to get going. Despite the fact that we have COVID-19, the people who have invested this time in personal development, in learning, in entrepreneurship, in networking, in improving themselves, these are the people who will enjoy when the sun finally shines on the world again. So we need to get going, we need to get serious. And to all of those who attended this session and watched it, you are the people that the world has been waiting for. You are the serious ones. You are the ones who are getting going. And so I'd like to encourage you and appreciate you for staying with us and keeping up with this presentation for the 2 hours that we've been sharing together. Otherwise, from Kenya and from Stowelink and from Practical Skills and from Kreative Hub and from Info4food, which is all the organizations I represent, I want to say thank you so much, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Asante, asante, asante.
Karibu.
Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Like he said, you should follow him on all of his social media, his platforms, so that you'll be getting more details. Thank you for watching wherever you are. See you at the next session. Thank you very much. I will also alert you once again. Thank you.
All right.